it's Brian from quantlabs.net here. Just wanted to go over, I'm hoping to be a quick video about lessons learned for 2013 and what I'm going to be doing for 2014. Since, well, it's going to be 3 years in January with the current quantlabs.net site. So this year has been kind of a weird year because it's been a lot of transition, a lot of hypothetical way of planning things. This time last year, I'll use a trading platform, open source like a trade link. Oh, wait a minute, another one came along called Deltix. We'll use that one, and neither of them really worked. The reasons are because, let's say with TradeLink, it's an open source one. To reverse engineer, to understand how that platform works is one thing, let alone other challenges that you come across becomes pretty well, you're spinning your wheels, more reverse engineering and trying to figure out how the thing works versus moving forward with it. The other problem with something like a Deltix is just plain expensive. A lot of people couldn't afford it. Even with a digital solution, I think, or the DCS cloud solution, would have been a challenge as well to move forward for my membership on. Unfortunately, over that time, I got to know somebody that we kind of got to know called London Quant. During those challenges I went through, he always said, "Why don't you write your own?" So I thought, I don't have time for that. So when I look at it, if I did that this time last year, it'd be a lot farther ahead. So essentially, I'm not saying last year is a waste of time. It was actually an eye-opening experience, realizing that these trading platforms out there, open source or commercial, really have a lot of limitations. Unless they have really good documentation and support, specifically a community. Because when you start trading real live money, you better have very good response time and support, especially when people's livelihoods are banking on it. So a lot of these vendors don't quite get that, and you know, when you're dealing with the world of trading, it's mission critical, I would think, especially if you're expanding into a multi-million-dollar type of operation. Now, you know, coming to what I just said about developing your own system, that's what I've been doing since about July, August, and pretty well. I'm not saying I'm nowhere complete, but I have the basic components together to be able to do an end-to-end solution, I'm hoping, with databases, charting, visualization. Not the fastest platform, I don't think, but it's sufficient enough to do medium type of frequency. Sub-second it would definitely work on, but it's more about hardware after that point, I think, as well as execution. Now, when you all pretty well put it all together, it's a complex process. Each process is its own process, or component has its own set of processes that need to be optimal. So, the other key lesson is for people that follow me, when you hear the term quant, 90% of it, everybody I've been talking to and listening to via YouTube videos or whatever, 90% of the job is all coding. So, if you're trying to be a quant, uses high-frequency trading, at the end of the day, you're going to have to be not just an efficient programmer, but a highly efficient programmer and highly optimal. Because I just put up an interview last night, from one of the people, or the guy that started quantstart.com. And he's a quant developer as well. So in order to do this stuff properly, you have to be a very efficient technologist. And part of quant is, and I agree with this, is to optimize technology at your disposal. Thus, having your own software, especially having access, obviously, to the source code, is really, really key to it all. Now, I've been doing also workshops, and I've been highlighting all the different aspects when it comes to these type of systems, and you know, trading idea generation and all that sort of stuff. So, I've pretty well got in my mind, a fairly good handle on how I want to move with it, or move forward with it, as well as there's a lot of people following me in my footsteps because of that, and that's good. And I've stumbled along the way many times, but here we are, and I'm pretty confident with where I'm at. You know, I played with some of the open source technologies like R and Python, but again, it comes back to your efficiency of time. And for me, I'm a very visual person, and that's why I prefer my MATLAB, because the resources that are available to me are incredible. and also the .NET stuff too, especially when you're coming from the Linux and, as I said, the open source type of language like Python and R, which are somewhat limited and they're only specific for different types of projects based upon what you're trying to learn from. And that brings me to my second lesson as I move more away from the technology, more to understanding how to generate trading ideas and building trading strategies and building trading rules. Basically what strategies are rules, logic, from a programming standpoint to get something done, like a calculation, a response from a calculation, and make a decision on when to enter the market, and how much you're going to allocate from a portfolio that's available of capital. On top of that, there has to be a risk assessment as well, which is obviously part of the risk management. So all that I just mentioned is all really programming, and that's all trading logic. But that's part of the strategy. That is really the strategy. But then on the other hand, there's the actual equations. You can do that obviously in R, Python, anything really. And this is the biggest challenge for me, is to understand the math. And I think moving forward, I'm going to be staying away from more of the programming because I think I can kind of get it done. If not, there's a lot of online resources to go to get that stuff done. So the real weakness for me is just more the math side of it. The data flow, when the data comes in, what do you do? How do you optimize it? Like, what kind of mathematical principle would you apply to get some kind of response? We call it a signal, if you want to call it that. And there's some really good methodologies, but either at the end of the day, that's my biggest weakness. So if you're coming from the world of PhDs or masters, most people have a high understanding of this from the scientific point of view, like if it's physics or rocket science or math itself. So they got a pretty good aptitude on that. But on the other hand, I also have some people that are really good traders, and they understand the industry, they understand the general flow of how the markets move. But when it comes to forecasting, I guess is the right way to put it, on future trading decisions is really based around math. Now, there's other methodologies like technical analysis and all that sort of stuff. But that's fine. I believe in technical analysis, but I personally would rather use technical analysis as a form of a gateway, and then once, it's a filtering system for whatever assets that I want to watch, and then from that point on, once it passes those filtering tests, which is obviously using technical analysis or fundamental or whatever, at some point you need to do some math or the quant, the forecasting, which is really, really powerful stuff that I've shown in my academy courses, be it R, MATLAB, or whatever. There's some very powerful techniques there. And of course there's neural net, machine learning, all that stuff too, but that's another story. But right now I'm going to be focusing more on the math side of stuff. Just there's so many online resources available. You've got YouTube, 2 channels, Khan Academy, as well as Bionic Turtle I like a lot. There's probably a bunch of other ones, but the stuff I really stay away from are these academic professors. They just talk like their asses are so smart that they should be brain surgeons and just purposely confuse people. And that's fine. I'm just a schmuck, and I like to learn things the easy way. That's why I think Khan Academy has gotten so big, because of that. On top of that, the other areas, if you have an iPad or an iPhone with iOS, or from Apple, obviously, you have iTunes University, which I love, because you can get a lot of online courses that are, of course, Ivy League schools, pumping out all these kind of cool courses on math, like the physics, all that stuff, the analytical processing, as well as actual programming languages as well. So there's a lot of online courses there that you should explore if you have the access to the iTunes University. There's also Coursera.org, which again is the same kind of concept, which are basically like open source online courses. So I'm planning to go through that. Now, I'm not trying to get accreditation, get some job. I've posted some stuff on why a lot of the jobs now with guys like Anthony Creel, I hope I got his last name right, Creel, sorry. But he points out, like, when you get into these entry-level investment bank and hedge fund jobs, they're just, for the amount of debt you acquire coming out of school, you may not get your investment back with your schooling. So, or there's guys like me, mid-aged dudes, that want to move into this area that don't have a strong math background. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the quickest way to, or the quickest path to understand all this stuff, especially the math. The math is critical. Fortunately for me, I won't say I'm strong in programming, I'm not, but I'm able to get the programming done faster than a lot of people because they don't have that. So that's probably what I'm going to start focusing on, is the pure math. Now, the other thing I was going to mention is things like other source code examples of trading strategies, specifically if they're in R, if they're in MATLAB, or whatever language. I find that they're really hard to implement into my own thing. They don't play nice. So there's nothing wrong with the code coming from these people. Obviously, people that put time into putting out samples like that is very important and should be highly valued, regardless of your opinion of it, because of the amount of time that's put into it. So that is key. But the problem is, as I said, they don't sometimes play nice for whatever reason. So I'm starting to realize, no different than the attitude you'd have with third-party trading platforms like I mentioned, TradeLink or Deltix or whatever, trading technologies or whatever, XTrader. You're going to run into the same problem with algorithms because you're going to take a code base, you're going to try to implement it in something that you may have, and they may not jive for whatever reason. So at the end of the day, my point is that you're going to have to probably most likely build your algorithms not from scratch, but be able to use the same basic formulas that you find in coding samples or research papers, but they have to be specific to how you implement them for your trading platform, and that is a big challenge, I think, now that I'll be facing. So not only the math itself, but knowing how to implement whatever it is from a research paper, from a coding sample, and being able to implement it into this code base that I have on these trading so-called components. So that is my big challenge. So again, in short, probably 3 lessons, or 2 lessons for 2013. Write your own trading platform. You have to be a fairly strong developer here. You know how to optimize the code, optimize the trading platform itself, and of course if you have your own source code, that gives you that advantage. Not only that, but when it comes to multi-threading and database and all that stuff, you can still optimize all that as you move ahead, as your system grows and your profitability and all that sort of stuff grows. With traditional trading platforms, you'll have a lot of bottlenecks and limitations that I don't even know where to begin. So having your own system, your own source code to that system and understanding it is a very, very big leg up. Second lesson I'm just realizing in the last couple of weeks, towards the end of 2013, is, as I said, understanding to be able to write your own equations and algorithms and being able to implement them into your own platform. I'm going to do another video on what I mean, but specifically as I move now into 2014, in my workshop and my courses I put together, I've identified all the best ways to attack something. Here are the options. Here's the set of options. Specifically, let's say with MATLAB specifically, you have 7 ways. 7 ways. I'm not free of that. 7 ways to implement something from a MATLAB M script. Okay, and I don't want to get into it, but there's 7 ways, and you got to figure out which one's the most optimal way. So that's one set of options that I presented over the last few months. On top of that, now that you have that, now you know you got to figure out what programming language you want. I'm using .NET, Windows, all that. Boo-hoo, probably some people don't like that. Oh well. You know, I don't want to get into a flaming war with people on technology. It's a waste of my time, to be honest. But anyways, take that technology and then take these trading ideas that I'm working on, and in parallel with some other people, bring them together so they can be implemented into the system. Okay, and on top of that, making sure that whatever infrastructure or whatever broker I go with, obviously I'm using interactive brokers for now, that they work out too, and then that's a whole nother world to work with on the execution and API end of it for your broker. Probably lost you long ago, but at the end of the day, if I go with Dukas Copy or LMAX or one of these other good brokers outside of interactive brokers, it's another world to contend with to implement my trading strategy with those particular brokers. So these are all the challenges I'll be facing. But in a nutshell, where I'm moving into, focusing on the math and trying to figure out how to write my own trading algorithm from scratch that can be implemented into the trading platform that I've got today from all the components that I've built. And again, this would not be possible without a person like the London Quant. So not only you should thank him, but I personally have a lot of gratitude. A person like that has come into nearly the last year to help me to get where I'm at and just to give me a huge leg up that 99% of the population will never be exposed to from the inside and how it's done. So without him, I wouldn't know a lot. So that was another big addition to 2013. Other than that, I'm hoping you do well. I'm up to 16 minutes now, so I'm going to shut up. Have a good 2013 and 14 and May of profits coming out of your yang, so you can learn how to fly private. That's my goal, I hope. Later.